All right, strap in, everybody. Today we are diving deep into something pretty cool, the power you have to get information from the government.
Hmm.
You know, when you need something from those state government folks, like a document or some stats, and they act like you're asking for top secret stuff,
Right.
it's like hitting a wall, right? Super frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. It can be a real headache.
But get this, there's this secret weapon, a kind of champion, working on the inside to make things more transparent.
Okay.
It's called the State Information Commission, or SIC.
Right?
Think of it like your key to unlock those government secrets.
I like that.
And by the way, huge shout out to anyone prepping for the UPSC exams.
Yes,
Knowing this stuff about the SIC is like a cheat code for those tough governance questions.
absolutely. The SIC is vital. It makes sure the government is doing things openly, something really important for future civil servants and, well, all of us, really.
Okay, so let's break it down.
Sure.
What exactly is this super powerful SIC?
Well, in simple terms, the SIC is an independent body created by the Right to Information Act of 2005.
Okay.
It's like a watchdog, right? Making sure state governments are playing by the rules and that we, the citizens, can hold them accountable.
So it's not just some group giving advice with no real power.
Oh, no, no. It's got teeth. The SIC can investigate complaints, issue orders people have to follow, even penalize those blocking information.
Wow, okay, now I'm seeing why this is so important.
Yeah.
It keeps those in power in check and gives us, the people, the knowledge we need.
Exactly.
But who are these information warriors? Who makes up the SIC?
Good question. The SIC is led by the State Chief Information Commissioner, kind of like the team captain, if you will, and they have up to 10 other information commissioners supporting them.
Okay, so a whole team of experts, not just one person making all the calls.
Yeah, a whole squad dedicated to transparency.
But are we talking about just any bureaucrat, or do they need some special skills?
These are not your average bureaucrat. Oh, no, no. They're chosen for their expertise and how honest they are. We're talking people from diverse backgrounds. Lawyers, activists, professors, journalists. People who have shown they're dedicated to public service and who really understand how the government works.
Now, that's what I call a dream team.
Hmm.
But how are these people chosen?
Yeah,
I imagine there's a pretty tough process to make sure we get the best of the best.
you're spot on.
Okay.
The appointment process is designed to minimize political influence and make sure things are impartial.
Okay.
There's a committee led by the chief minister, includes the leader of the opposition, and a cabinet minister, too. They recommend names to the governor.
Okay, so there are checks and balances right from the start. Makes
Right.
sense. What happens next? Does the governor just automatically approve those names?
It's not quite a rubber stamp.
Okay.
You see, the governor does the final appointing based on those recommendations.
Right.
But the selection itself has to be transparent and accountable. Think of it as making sure the SIC isn't packed with buddies or people who just agree with everything.
That's a relief.
Mm.
We wouldn't want the transparency champions to be compromised from the get-go.
No, not at all.
So once they're in, are they there for life? Or is there like a time limit?
To make sure they stay independent, commissioners serve for 5 years.
Okay.
Or until they're 65, whichever comes first.
Okay.
And super important, they can't be reappointed.
Okay.
This is how you prevent them from being beholden to a specific party or ideology.
That's smart. Like a built-in system to stop them getting too comfortable with those in power.
Oh.
But what about protection from pressure?
Yeah.
What if someone tries to remove a commissioner unfairly?
That's where the safeguards come in.
Right.
Commissioners can only be removed for very specific things, like
Yeah.
if they can't pay their debts, have a criminal conviction,
Yeah.
or just can't do the job anymore.
Right.
It's not as simple as someone powerful disliking them and getting rid of them.
Okay, so there's a real barrier there to protect their independence.
Yes.
But let's say there's a real reason for removal. What happens then? Can the government just snap their fingers and say, you're out of here?
Not at all. If it's something like proved misbehavior or incapacity, it needs a full investigation by the Supreme Court.
Whoa, the Supreme Court. That's some serious oversight.
Yeah.
It really shows how important this right to information is.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got this independent group, impartial, made up of experts, appointed transparently, and protected from being removed unfairly.
Right.
Phew. But what can they actually do? What tools do they have to make sure things are transparent?
That's where things get really exciting.
Okay.
The SIC has a bunch of powers and functions to make sure you, the citizen, can get the information you need.
I knew there had to be more to it. Spill the beans. What's in their transparency toolbox?
Well, for one thing, they're the ultimate problem solvers if you're struggling to get info.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you file an RTI request that's a request under the Right to Information Act.
Right.
And the Public Information Officer, or PIO, who's supposed to handle it well, you can't find them.
Ugh. I can already feel my blood pressure rising.
Yeah.
What can the SIC do in that situation?
Well, the SIC can step in and tell that authority, hey, you got to appoint a PIO. Someone's got to be responsible for dealing with these requests.
Okay, that's step one. But what if they do have a PIO, but they just deny my request or make me wait forever?
Don't worry, the SIC can investigate those cases too.
Yeah, good.
They have the power to look into why your request was denied or why it's stuck.
It's like they're information detectives.
Oh.
This is getting better and better.
Mm.
But what about those times when they give you the runaround with crazy fees or give you incomplete or misleading information?
The SIC can handle all of that. They review fees, they make sure the information you get is complete and correct.
Okay.
Basically, they're your advocate making sure things are fair.
Wow, they really have our backs. But do they just sit around waiting for complaints, or can they do something on their own?
That's where their suomoto powers come in.
Suomoto.
It means they don't have to wait for a complaint. They can launch their own investigations if they think something fishy is going on.
So they're proactively looking for corruption and lack of transparency. Love it. But let's get specific. During these investigations, what can they actually do?
Right.
Can they force people to cooperate?
Oh, absolutely. When they do an inquiry, the SIC has similar powers to a civil court. They can summon witnesses, demand evidence and documents, even get public records from other institutions.
Wow.
No hiding place for those trying to pull a fast one.
Okay, I am officially intrigued. We've covered WHO, the SIC is, how W they're chosen, and WH why they're so important.
Right.
But I really want to know more about what they can actually do to enforce transparency. Tell me more.
Well, that's a whole other part of the story and one we'll definitely get into next time.
Right. Hold on tight, folks. We're just getting started. In part 2, we'll unpack how the SIC flexes its muscles to get you the information you need and deserve.
You won't want to miss it.
Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. Last time, we took the mask off this mysterious State Information Commission.
Right.
The SIC, your secret weapon, and getting the government to be more transparent.
Exactly.
But let's get into the actual steps.
Okay.
Let's say I'm a citizen, maybe even someone studying for the UPSC exams, and I need information from the government.
Yeah.
What do I do? Where do I even begin?
It all starts with filing an RTI application. That stands for Right to Information.
Okay.
It's basically your formal request for the information.
Okay. Sounds pretty simple, but what does that actually involve? Do I need to, like, hire a lawyer and get all legal and stuff?
Not at all. That's the great thing about the RTI Act. It's simple.
Okay.
You just submit a written request to the Public Information Officer, the PIO,
Right.
of the government body you're dealing with.
Right. The PIO, that's the point person for dealing with all these requests.
That's the one.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
So with the RTI Act, I'm in control.
Yeah.
Right. I can ask for exactly what I need.
You got it. The RTI Act puts YU in the driver's seat. You have the power to ask for what you need in a way that gets you the specific information.
So I'm not limited to just picking from a list of what they're willing to share. I can ask for anything I want.
You absolutely can.
Wow. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
It really evens things out between us citizens and the government.
Yes, it does.
But what's to stop them from ignoring my request or taking forever to respond?
That's where the RTI Act's timelines come into play. The PIO can't just sit on your request.
Okay.
They have 30 days to give you the information.
30 days? Not too bad. But what if I need the information urgently, like if it's a matter of life or death?
Then it becomes a priority request.
Okay.
And they have to respond within 48 hours.
Wow, 48 hours. So the law really does understand how important it is to get information quickly in critical situations.
Absolutely.
But let's be real, sometimes things don't go as planned.
Right.
What if the PIO rejects my request or I don't hear back within the time limit?
That's where the SIC comes in.
Yes.
It's your first appeal option. If you're unhappy with the PIO, or if they don't respond, you file a complaint with the SIC.
Oh.
They look at your case and decide if the request was handled correctly.
So it's like a safety net, making sure someone's looking out for me and my right to know.
Exactly.
And remember all those investigative powers we talked about?
Yeah.
The SIC can use those to look into my complaint.
That's right. They can use all those powers when they examine your complaint.
So it's not just a formality.
Yeah.
The SIC actually has the power to scrutinize what the government is doing.
Absolutely.
That's good to know. So their decisions are binding, right? The authorities can't just ignore them.
Nope, they can't ignore the SIC's orders.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
It shows they actually have some power, not just talk. What kind of orders can they issue?
Well, they can tell the PIO to give you the info, They can change the PIO's decision or even issue penalties if it looks like someone was trying to block things on purpose.
So there are actual consequences if someone tries to break the law. It's not just a slap on the wrist.
Right, the RTI Act has teeth, and the SIC makes sure those teeth are used.
Okay, but what if, even after the SIC gets involved, I'm still not happy with what happens? Are there any other options?
You can actually go to the high court.
Whoa, the high court. That's serious. Shows you how important they think this right to information is.
It definitely does.
So the high court will review what the SIC decided and either agree with it, change it, or send it back to the SIC to look at again.
Exactly.
So there are multiple levels of checks and balances in place to protect my right to know.
That's right.
I'm realizing how citizen-centric this whole system is. It really puts the power back in the hands of the people.
That's the heart of the RTI Act.
Yeah.
It's the idea that transparency is what keeps a democracy healthy.
It's all about giving us citizens the power to engage with the government and hold them accountable for what they do.
Exactly. And the SIC makes it pretty straightforward and easy to do just that.
You don't need to be a lawyer or have tons of money to use this system.
Right. Everyone has equal access to information, no matter who they are or what they have.
This is all so inspiring. It's like we've found a secret decoder to understand how the government works. But let's be realistic for a second.
Sure.
In a perfect world, the SIC would work flawlessly, giving us access to information without any problems.
Right.
But the real world is a little messier.
It is.
What are some of the challenges that the SIC might face in real life?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And you're right, no system is perfect.
Right.
The SIC, even with its goals and all its powers, does run into some hurdles.
Let's talk about those hurdles. What are some things that might get in the way of the SIC being effective?
Well, one of the biggest is just the sheer volume of cases they have to deal with. They're handling appeals from the whole state.
Right. And we know there's only a limited number of commissioners to deal with all that.
Exactly. So that can unfortunately lead to delays in processing appeals,
Yeah.
which kind of goes against the whole point of the RTI Act's emphasis on getting responses quickly.
It's a catch-22. They're supposed to make sure we get information quickly, but they're often stuck with this mountain of cases.
It's right. And all that backlog can impact the quality of their work. When you're always racing against the clock, it's tough to look into every detail.
Yeah, makes sense. It's like drinking from a fire hose. You can't possibly take it all in.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that leads to another big challenge: resources.
So they've got this super important job, but maybe not the tools and support to do it well. That doesn't sound good.
Unfortunately, that's often the case. A lot of SICs around the country struggle with not having enough staff, outdated technology, and tiny budgets.
It's like sending a knight into battle with a wooden sword.
Exactly. And not having enough resources can affect everything, from how well they can investigate to how they educate the public about their rights.
It's a vicious cycle. Limited resources lead to problems, which then make people trust the system less.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another challenge, one that's a little more complicated: resistance from the authorities themselves.
Ah, yes. Let's not forget about the folks on the other side of this, the ones who might not be so happy about all this transparency.
That's right. Some of them see the RTI Act and the SIC as more of a pain than a vital part of good governance.
They see it as something that makes their jobs harder instead of a chance to be more accountable and transparent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this resistance shows up in different ways.
Yeah.
They might delay things on purpose, give incomplete information, or even take the SIC to court.
So it's like a tug of war between the SIC trying to uphold the law and these authorities trying to find ways around it.
That's a great way to put it.
And I bet this resistance is even stronger when it comes to sensitive information or allegations of corruption, when those in power have the most to lose.
Precisely. That's when the stakes are highest, and transparency can seem like a real threat to those who like to keep things hidden.
Makes sense. This pushback makes the SIC's job much harder.
It does.
They have to be persistent and really stand their ground to make sure the law is followed. It's like they're guardians of transparency, constantly fighting against those who want to keep things secret.
Exactly. But it's a fight worth having.
Yeah.
Because in the end, access to information is crucial for a democracy to work well and for people to have a voice.
This has been a fascinating look at the challenges the SIC faces in its mission to promote transparency. It reminds us that no system is perfect. There's always room to do better.
Absolutely. But even with these challenges, the SIC is still a crucial tool to give power to citizens and promote accountability.
It gives hope to anyone who believes that governments should answer to the people.
I agree.
But wait, there's more. In the last part of our deep dive, we're going to focus on you.
Right.
We'll give you some practical tips and strategies to actually use the RTI Act and the SIC effectively.
That's right.
Get ready to become informed and empowered citizens. See you in part 3. All right, welcome back, deep divers. We're in the home stretch now, wrapping up our exploration of the State Information Commission. That's the SIC, your secret weapon when it comes to getting the government to be open and honest.
That's right.
We've learned all about how the SIC works, but now it's your turn.
Right.
It's time to empower you, the listener, to actually use this knowledge.
Exactly.
Think of this as a crash course in how to use the Right to Information Act.
Yeah.
We're talking practical tips, what to do, what not to do, everything you need to become like an RTI ninja.
Exactly. Your guide to navigating the system, getting the information you need,
Okay.
whether you're just a concerned citizen, an activist, or even studying for the UPSC exams and wanting to nail those governance questions.
Okay. I'm ready to level up.
All right.
Let's start with the basics.
Sure.
We've talked about filing RTI applications, but how do I even find the right public information officer, the PIO?
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like trying to find your way out of a maze.
It's true. The government can be a bit of a maze sometimes.
Yeah.
But there are resources to help you find your way.
Okay, tell me more. Where do I start?
Most government departments have websites, and they usually have a section dedicated to the RTI Act. You can often find a list of PIOs and their contact info right there.
So I can just hop online and do a little digging.
That's right.
Got it.
But if you can't find what you need on the website, you can always contact the department directly.
Okay.
Give them a call, send an email, even a good old-fashioned letter will do.
Right.
They should be able to point you in the right direction.
Persistence is key. Okay, so let's say I found the right PIO. What next?
Right.
How do I actually write an RTI application that gets results?
Now that's where the real skill comes in.
Okay.
Here are a few tips to make your RTI application stand out.
Hit me with your wisdom.
All right, first and foremost, be super clear and specific in your request.
Okay.
The more precise you are about what you want, the better the chances you'll get a good, helpful response.
So no vague questions. Got it. What else?
Try breaking your request down into smaller, well-defined questions.
Okay.
That makes it easier for the PIO to process the request and find the information. So it's like I'm organizing my thoughts for them, making it easy to find what I need.
Exactly. And if you're requesting specific documents, try to include as much information as you can to identify them.
Okay.
Like file numbers, dates, names of people involved, anything that helps narrow it down.
So I'm giving them a treasure map to the information.
Exactly.
I'm loving this.
And one more crucial thing, always give your complete contact information.
Right.
Your full name, address, phone number, email, everything they need to get back to you.
Right. I wouldn't want them to have the information, but no way to get it to me. What about how the application is actually written? Does it have to be super formal with all that legal mumbo jumbo?
No need for that. The great thing about the RTI Act is that it's meant to be easy for everyone to understand.
Okay.
You can write your application in plain, everyday language,
Okay.
as long as it's clear, concise, and easy to understand.
Phew, what a relief. No need to dig out my old law books. What about fees?
Right.
Is there a cost to file an RTI application? Yes, there's usually a small fee.
Okay.
The exact amount depends on the state, but it's usually pretty affordable.
Okay.
Think of it as a tiny investment in transparency.
Okay, good to know. So I've sent in my carefully crafted application, paid the fee. Now I just sit back and wait for the information to magically appear in my inbox.
Well, almost. Remember those timelines?
Right.
The PIO has 30 days to respond. Unless it's urgent, then it's 48 hours.
Right. I'm not just waiting around forever. I have the right to expect a timely response.
You do.
And if I don't get one, I know who to contact. But let's face it, even with the best intentions and a perfect application, things don't always go smoothly.
It's true.
What are some common mistakes I should try to avoid?
One of the most common mistakes is being too general or vague in your request.
Okay, we talked about being clear and specific, but can you give me an example of what that actually looks like?
Sure, let's say you're interested in how much the government is spending on a specific project.
Okay.
Instead of asking a vague question like, how much money has been spent on this project? Yeah.
Break it down into smaller, more specific questions.
Okay, give me an example.
You could ask, what's the total budget? How much has been spent so far? What are the main areas where the money is going?
Oh, I see. That gives the PIO a much clearer path to follow.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another common mistake is not giving enough information when you're asking for a specific document.
Right, like just saying, I want that report isn't going to cut it.
No. not at all. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Right.
Try to give them details like the date of the report, who wrote it, any file
The more
numbers.
clues, the better. Okay, what other traps should I watch out for?
Sometimes people get discouraged if their request is rejected.
Okay.
Don't give up. The RTI Act lets you